Hello and welcome to the completely raw, naked Stand Up with Pete Dominick weekend content. I mean raw and naked, that there's no music, there's no production, it's really not a show. I'm in the shed and wearing clothes while eating processed food. I don't want to give you the wrong impression. I mean raw and naked, that there's no music, there's no production, it's really not a show. It's just something, a conversation, an interview that I wanted to share with you that's either relevant, very relevant, like an emergency conversation analysis of, say, Supreme Court decision or some variant update with an epidemiologist. This weekend, I wanted to reshare my conversation with Bob Saget, which I did back in August. Actually, July is when Bob and I sat down. And also, you can watch it. I posted up on my YouTube channel for the first time. It's youtube.com/standupwithpete. There's a link in the show notes, but please go over and subscribe. If you want to watch my interview with Bob Saget, it's up there now. Of course, he passed away last weekend at the age of 65, and I've been on the Canadian Broadcasting Company, CBC News, and then this weekend, this morning, actually, Saturday morning, I was on HLN with my friend Susan Hendricks. So I included both of those interviews, the audio from those interviews, after my conversation with Bob Saget. I met Bob a long time ago at a comedy club in L.A. called the Improv, and hung out with him in Las Vegas at the HBO Comedy Festival, where I think I interviewed him for the first time. Then I interviewed him countless times at SiriusXM's comedy channels, and then on Stand Up with Pete Dominick there. My last conversation with him, of course, was, well, at least on the air, on the podcast back in July. We had direct messaged a couple of other times in between private conversations. Always funny, always thoughtful, always generous and kind and smart. Everybody loved him. Here's my conversation with Bob Saget, and then after that, the two interviews that I've done since his passing. I hope you like it. I hope you're having a great weekend. I love you forever, Bob Saget. Here we go.
Don't show me drinking this carcinogen.
All right, here we go.
Wait, let me finish a sip of this carcinogen.
Please let me keep this in. Is that your caffeine choice?
I ate a nail about an hour ago, and so the only way to dissolve it is with Coca-Cola.
What kind of nail?
I was doing carpentry, and I was hammering up some molding, and a double-headed nail just went down my throat. I had my mouth open. Double-headed nail went down my throat. I'm not going to pass it, so right. All I can do is drink this product that people have seen over the years, and it literally will burn through the nail. So I'll be fine.
There's a lot of follow-up questions I would ask. I guess the most important one is I'm surprised that you do your own molding, that you don't have like a guy. You're Bob Saget. No,
and I'm also going to do my own surgery when this process that I'm trying doesn't work. When I can't shit my nail. My asshole's a nail gun. I eat a bunch of nails.
Bob Saget shoots nails from his ass, not in the Wikipedia, which I just read to prepare for you.
Right. Isn't that weird? Because with my podcast, I'll look up people's stuff. I will not go to Wikipedia because half of it's wrong. My Wikipedia is wrong about me. It's like, what?
So your podcast is very, very good.
Oh, God, thank you. I thought you could have gone either direction.
I think it might be. Maybe this doesn't sound weird. To me, it's my favorite thing that you've ever done.
You haven't seen me have sex.
I would. I've seen your wife. I in my.
Hey! Come on.
Well,
you watched me drinking a soda just now and dumping it in a garbage can. That's how.
Who am I supposed to imagine you having sex with, if not that?
I guess yourself. That would be about it.
I can't wait to that final.
Or executives at that other place we don't speak of.
SiriusXM. I'd go back. Listen. You are here today to talk about critical race theory. And
no. I also want to say that because of the young Gen Zers that believe everything that some putrid person puts on the internet, if you're under 15 and don't understand the past and how comedy has been different over the years and how just don't listen to this, because we're going to say stuff that might be not comprehensible from your experience or your ears. And I also feel bad for people that believe sometimes a mob of people that make up lies. So these kids today are the future. Children are our future. So I just don't want kids listening to this podcast. That's what I've been doing that with mine. I have Gilbert on Monday. So right after we're done doing this, I'm going to talk to Gilbert. And when Gilbert and I talk, I have to preface it by saying you kids can't listen to this because it's all comedy. I'm just checking to make sure everything's on. I'm such a pro. Your podcast is great. Really? Let me see if the mic's on. But yeah, people don't understand what we understand because we come from a different time.
Has anything terrible been said or done that's actually caught on about you from something that was like said at a roast or?
Yeah, that's where it happened. So kids through TikTok, I was just innocent. What? And I wrote a book, my New York Times bestseller. You helped me promote it. Thank you. It's called Dirty Daddy, which is a great title for a book right now. And see, what the people don't realize is it was different then. We made jokes about the worst things possible because that's how we got through them. They can't understand that. I can't expect a 12-year-old to understand it. But the people that try to spread bad things, one guy got taken down because he was illegally posting stuff. And another person's like an ex-porn actress. And she goes and puts up this thing and a million kids see it or a little bit older and just not smart and believe the mob. And it was basically saying that my roast was the news, that the roast, the comedy roast. And there it is. Look at it above me. Look above me. There's a poster from it right up there.
Amazing.
That's the roast of me. And that was a big hit at the time. And it really is full of a lot of jokes that I didn't once said about people that I love. And there were a lot of jokes there were jokes about Ashley and Mary Kate in there done by other comedians. I never did them. And they knew about it and they watched it and they love me and I love them. But you can't convince a woke mob. Did it hurt their feelings? I was really concerned about it because I asked the producer not to do the jokes and everybody did them. That's all I can say is it's not the news. It was people saying bad stuff, but they're like my dearest, they're like my family. So anybody that says that shit makes me want to punch them in the nose because I'm close with them and love them. And I love all the people from that show. So that's people are, I don't know. It's unfortunate where people go now mentally.
Well, I'm super sorry to hear that. And I do have to tell you.
But it's nothing. I mean, it's kind of almost gone away, except some of the woke kids. But I just block everybody now. Well, I don't care. I get rid of people.
I was just good. That's the best thing to do. I was just with my 13-year-old daughter. I go, who I'm interviewing tonight? She's like, who? And I go, Bob Saget from Full House. She's like, you are? I go, right. Yeah. And she goes, why would he talk to you? Which was kind.
Well, she's not part of the unwoke mob.
Well, she goes
the mob that isn't woke.
She then goes, didn't he do something like bad or something like that?
Oh, that's TikTok. Wow.
And I go, what? And she's like, yeah, something like assault or something. I go, I like stop the car. I go,
see, that's bad. So
I go, Bob Saget is legitimately, to the people know him even a little, the best guy in entertainment. He's a great guy. And no one thinks anything ever.
Well, these kids do. And it was spread by evil, bad people. But that's also in my book. I talked about something that happened on the set and it was, I expounded, how your publishers say, oh, make it worse, So let's really double down on the tabloidness of this. So I did stuff to make people laugh, and if a kid goes, you drew a dick on a Full House script? I went, yes, I was sitting next to Dave and John and nobody else saw it. The kids didn't see it. I was in junior. It's a grown up being talked to like a child because you're on a kid's show. And that's how we passed the time because we didn't do it all the time. We did it a few times at readings, but it was just funny. It was just, and nobody took offense. And, once, I got to tell you, whenever I see Ashley and Mary Kate, when they came to see my last play in New York, or when they come to my scleroderma benefits because I lost my sister to scleroderma, none of these people even Google to see what the truth is.
Right.
And you can't even get the truth in Google. But anyway, I don't want to dwell on that. It's just sad that your daughter picked up on that because I don't deserve that blemish on my record because even in my book, I apologized. In the moment, I apologized for.
Well, I'll tell you what, and I think that it's a good way to get into what I really wanted to discuss with you, which
is yourself getting removed.
I got called a pedophile for a week by about 1 million Twitter accounts because one of the biggest names in the right wing media, reacted to something I said.
I've been called that also, and that's like, I actually want to tell those people what I want to tell them, but which is not a nice word.
Here's what
and the second word is off, or themselves, because I am the really good father that they want me to be. Yeah. I am the guy that's Danny Tanner. I just always had a weird sense of humor because my parents lost 4 children, and we made jokes out of sick stuff because we barely survived. And my dad would have a sick sense of humor, and a sense of humor that's gallows humor or real negative, dark humor doesn't mean you're that person. So I don't know how to explain it to a 12-year-old, but I am the father that they wish that I was. I mean, for God's sakes, I got a dust rag right here. I clean my glasses like Danny Tanner. I hug. I've hugged you from behind, and we played banjo music. That 12-year-old just hated me again. But the truth of it is, it's all, I also went on Opie and Anthony in the morning and told a story that was in the book and all that shit. So those are the 3 things, by the way. That's it. That's what they based that I had done terrible things to, which is just, it was all done. And it was, I hated the way I came off. And I am disgusted by how that looked. 7 a.m, going into Opie and Anthony, trying to brag and be part of the boys club 15 years ago. It's just 10 years ago, whatever it is. It's not right. And I wouldn't do a lot of stuff that I did then now. I love my new stand-up. I love my new approach to everything. I've grown up. I'm 65, and people just don't know me. And if they did, they would apologize. I deserve an apology from all the people on TikTok that your poor daughter had to hear them say such horrible things, because I own all my shit. I apologized in the book immediately. I shouldn't have done that stupid thing with that prop doll, for 10 seconds, but I made it sound like more. But it's bad anyway. It's bad messaging. I just never thought it would go anywhere, but I put it in a book. So I put it in a book. Right. And then they'll write, he laughed maniacally. They'll take this clip.
I was trying to get ready to talk to you, and I've listened to your podcast in the past, but I hadn't listened to it in a little while. And I was like, what should I listen to? And I decided to I couldn't decide because there's so many great guests that you have on. Obviously, I love when 2 comedians are talking, but I listened to Jason Sudeikis from last year, which is great.
Boy, I love him.
But but my favorite one, and I chose it specifically, was your conversation with Jodie Sweetin.
Yeah.
Because if people want to know, you have 3 daughters, right? 3 daughters?
I have 3 daughters, 34, 30. My daughters are 34, 31, and 28, and they are really deeply upset by anything derogatory said about me because they know me.
Yeah, and I met and hung out with 2 of your daughters at
I want to talk to you about that.
At the show you were in.
You're under arrest.
Which was so great, and they were so cool and so proud of you. And then, listening to...
I'm so proud of them.
Jodie, who played, what was her name in Full House, Jodie?
Stephanie.
In case
I'm trying to get out of the thing. Look at that. That thing blocks my head. Your stand-up thing.
Oh, no. Oh, no, it's fine. My little logo?
No, it is now. But I have to move myself in order not to be... You're trying to cock block my head.
The point is, you really are that guy. And all of these young women were lucky to grow up with you, period. So. I
actually thank you for saying that, but I'm angry. Sure. And I didn't want to talk about it. Michael O'Brien said, my publicist, my best dear friend, one of my dearest friends, said, don't talk about it. You dignify it. But this is maybe where the soundbite that they'll get it from. I don't know. But it's just, it's unfortunate that a couple of really bad people continue to light the flames of garbage throughout our whole society. And so much is based on just garbage that's not true. But about me, I'm like the first person that would help any kid. I would never, ever, when they said you did these things, like actual actions, like what the?
You were around kids in the
my whole career. I did father show after father show.
And we're legitimately, I know it's so easy to make these jokes, and now you can't anymore, I guess. But
I don't want to. That's the other thing is I wouldn't choose to do it now anyway. That's what's so strange.
Fine. But the point I'm trying to make is you were never accused of anything by anyone ever. And
by the way,
we all know it.
But that's what people like a 12-year-old goes, why isn't he in jail? I don't know. Why aren't you in jail, you little You sheep-herded little bastard.
I got so many threats. I'm not you, obviously. But I got so many threats. People wanted to kill me, and my thing was
well, I want to kill you.
Well, that's different. That has nothing to do with anything inappropriate that either of us done. That's something that you get aroused by.
I think both, yes, but only if I'm inside I can't go there. I can't do this. I can't do the jokes we did, Pete.
Lord, come on.
But no, can't do it. Even if you're in, a giant armoire. But what I was going to say is, I feel like I wish we could start this whole podcast over again, because this will be the thing that people listen to. But it's funny because I've been doing a lot of stand-up. I'm touring everywhere. I'm in Indianapolis this weekend. Really excited about it. My shows have been great. People are surprised that I talk about this a little bit about, I'm just not as blue, but I still talk about my wiener, because what else am I going to talk about? I don't want to offend anybody.
Right.
If I'm talking about him, nobody gets hurt. But again, that's not for 12-year-olds. I perform in a place you got to be 21, Yeah. Can't get into a theater because they serve booze. But I'm selling out everywhere, not as a person, but I wouldn't do the stuff that I used to do. And they want me to do it. They'll yell out, sing the Aristocrats, sing it. I don't know why they want me to sing it, but they want me to do stuff that I'm not capable of doing. And I wasn't capable of doing it when I did it. And then Gilbert Gottfried is who we have to blame for all of this.
Yeah, because he said these things, and
don't repeat them. But that's the clip they're using.
Yep.
It's literally, they think it's the news, and then they believe ex-porn actresses and just people that want to make a name on YouTube, and they're brainwashed, and they're cultists, and they just can't think for themselves, and it's very, very sad.
So I have kind of a way to prove kind of what kind of a person you are, what kind of a guy you are. And
let's go that direction. That'll be good.
Well, I think that I was, again, thinking about you a lot and your career and listening to all your stories and knowing you a little bit personally, is you have been one of the closest friends to some of the most iconic, legendary comedians of our time, the time before us, and now the time after us. Rodney Dangerfield, Richard Pryor, Gary Shandling, Sam Kinison are what I came up with. These are four guys who adored you. Everybody.
Well, that changed. I had some issues. Sam and I were closer, and then became more acquaintances as he went off and got a little more into his lifestyle. Gary and I, in Judd Apatow's great documentary about him, The Zen Diaries of Gary Shandling, I come out, and not unlike I did right at the beginning of this our conversation here. I wasn't as high throttle, with my anger and defense, but I had nothing to defend except I am angry. But with Gary, who I love very, very much, there was an issue because who was a mutual friend, and he had a parting of ways with my dear friend, and was Gary's dear friend, Brad Gray. But he, felt betrayed. And to many feel he was betrayed, and I was in the middle of it. And they're both gone, and I will always love them both, always. And so Gary and I were very, very close. For the first 8 years of my career in LA, he was the first friend that I made at the Comedy Store. I even voiced over bits for him that he would play on a pre-record, and I'd go over his house and we'd write. And I am sad about that friendship, but I had a closeness with Gary that, and then we kind of made it up. I don't know what happened. I understood his position. I'm like that politically too. I understand another person's position. I don't go, I have a couple of people that I love that I'm texting, please get vaccinated. You just had COVID. In 6 months when you don't have antibodies, this thing's good. And they don't want to respond. So I give up, and I still love them. I'm not going to stop loving somebody because they believe differently than me. And that's how I approach my shows. That's how I approach human beings. But if you're cruel to me and lie about me and make up shit, then I am now at the point of not, because I have about 10,000 kids I should sue for defamation of character. But instead, I just send them love and I block them. I'm not doing negative anymore.
I know, but to be clear, nobody that knows you has ever really spoken badly about you publicly.
Not that knows me. Not that knows me.
That's the only thing that matters.
I know, but not if a bunch of people, if your daughter's saying something to you that disturbs me, because that's not a legacy. And I'll be able to, I don't know, it's your actions. It's just how you are with people. And the next time they see me with Mary-Kate and Ashley at an event, they'll be like, oh my God, how could they be victims still? You know, I'm the victim. I'm the actual victim. I did humor that is completely at this moment in time, not something that should be done. And I do apologize for that. I apologize for the humor that I did years ago, how it rests today, because it doesn't belong. And it did, when you look at it now, it did more harm than good, but it didn't affect their lives because they weren't born. And their parents laughed at it because they knew that I was coming from a place of the sick. Sarah Silverman said it really brilliantly. You know, I'm sorry if anything I did in the past, I think she said, affects anyone today, but that was then. I would never say that now. Right. And she did a lot of brilliant Holocaust jokes because the Holocaust was one of the worst things that ever happened, except for what's going on now. But we're not there yet, thank God.
Well, by the way, where are you on the Holocaust? Pros, cons?
Well, you know, I don't think I should mention anything about that because there's a lot of sick jokes that go with that I would do that would take us back 15 years. In fact, Gary Shandling had one of the best jokes I ever heard, and you can't do them. And there's enough hate in the world because there's real hate in the world right now that's on public display. Yeah. And because of that, it's a reset and it's a complete do-over. And that I'm a different person. I'm a different person than I was. That's why if a 12-year-old goes, apologize, I go, no, you know what? I'll apologize. I'll be the bigger person. I'm sorry that I said something out of context for the present day 10 or 15 years ago, and it doesn't belong. Watch some of these great old movies. They don't, you know, you can't do them now. You can't do those jokes because the needle's moved, and I'm good with that. You know, I'm good to feel bad about. Of course I feel bad about things that hurt anybody today, but not to believe it. I did any of the actions of my jokes. It's called fucking stand-up comedy. You know, we've all done dark jokes, except for Bill Cosby, who was holier than thou, and he did the actual actions. So, and yes, that has been proven innocent by a court of civil law. I don't know what the hell happened.
And several other comedians, and what we're
right. And so I'm the one who said stuff like I've always been a junior high school kid. So I'm immature and stupid. That's why I would draw a penis on a script that kids can't see. And if the director says, hey, you got this test dummy to talk to as an actor, and you're in the kid's bedroom and it's only guys on the set and the kids can't see it. So in my book, I'm not completely accurate, but it doesn't matter. It's in the book. Yeah. And then I apologize afterward. And that's what people talked about when I did that one radio show. And that was, nobody saw it. Right. Literally, nobody saw it. The joke was, the TVs are on, and that was the punchline. So unfortunately, my punchline, that wasn't reality, came back to bite me in the ass. So I don't know what to tell you. I hate feeling like I'm on the defensive. I'm more on the aggressive. I'm very angry.
I understand. I understand that but
I also want to fix it. And what I'm doing now in stand-up is better than any. I'm going to shoot a special in the coming months. It's going to be the best thing I ever did, and I know that because it's all about not letting negative in and being kind to each other and all that stuff that I actually believe heavily. That's why I have 3 daughters and why I'm close with every single kid, more so than almost anybody, every person on that show and every other show I did. I did a sitcom with Jonathan Katz was the exec producer. Yep. And this show should have lasted. It was called Raising Dad. And we did 24 of them for the WB, but they didn't pick it up, but it was popular in England. And Jerry Adler, who was Hesh on The Sopranos, was my dad. Mm-hmm. Andy Kindler, who we love, was my principal. I was a teacher. And my daughters were Kat Dennings and Brie Larson. And Kat's best friend on the show was Megan Good. So, okay, these are all going to be stars, these kids. I mean, like the biggest, right? Marvel stars. And I'm here being a good role model on the set. And so everybody that has said, it's just kids. No adult believes it. They goes, any adult that goes on these things goes, what are you kids talking about? Gen Z's out of their minds. You know, this guy's, and it was sent out by, again, like some horrible, if you look at the story, I don't want to give her any cred, but she's I don't know. I don't want to give anybody the, let's just erase the whole week. Can we start now? So Pete, what's it like to get fired?
Well, that's why I'm here to tell you that I've organized a PSA with all of the women that you've worked with, attesting to your true character.
Well, yeah, well, my true character is it's pretty noble, except when I was single and available for 20 years.
I want,
and when you're acting with somebody, you know, it's a different thing. You have to create boundaries, you know, also as a man as well.
Sure.
And sometimes people can misread people. That's the other thing that happens. Well, so
the thing that's about you, though,
I'm going to quit showbiz and become a one-armed fiddler.
No, I think that's still going to be showbiz, and those gigs are even harder to get. So,
one-armed fiddler, I think everybody would give me money if I had my little fiddle case open.
How come all of these people that you've worked with your entire life like you so much? How come I like you so much?
Because I have love for people, and I love good, smart people. And you and I have liked each other from the moment we met. When I came into Sirius and I sat there, but we met in a club, didn't we?
We met at Aspen. No, we met at HBO Comedy Fest, Las Vegas, maybe.
Right. And that I would be canceled for that set.
That was right when people were first, I think, seeing a lot of your stand up, like at a.
Well, not really, because I'd already had my HBO special, That Ain't Right. And that was I was 2007, I think. And that was one of the highest rated HBO specials they'd had around then. And that's the one where I dropped F-bombs every 2 minutes. It was like a rim shot. And then people gave me shit for that. But people always give you shit unless you're doing something as brilliant as Jim Gaffigan or Brian Regan or Jerry or Sebastian or Ray Romano, where you just don't do anything to ruffle anybody's feathers. And you just do smart, astute, great observational comedy. And I respect the hell out of it. And then I hang out with Dave Chappelle. It's his birthday yesterday. I think you're running this the day after his birthday. Uh-huh. And Bill Burr and they're, I've always just tried to outgross comedians just for fun. It's like sparring, and it doesn't mean you're that person. When you find out a couple of our people that we've known over the years are that person, that's quite disturbing. But I've never been close with anyone in my whole life who was guilty of the stuff that they ended up, being canceled for. I know those people, but I've never been close with any of them because I think I'm a good judge of character.
I thought Harvey Weinstein was your closest friend for years.
He managed me for 2 years. I'm not joking.
He did?
He did. When I was 22 years old, Brad Gray, who became my manager, worked for Harvey as a runner in Buffalo. And Harvey said, "We want to manage you." And because I was on the Comedy Store college tour at 22 years old. And Brad was 20 and Harvey was like 26. He never touched me. And he was difficult, and he was wanted to make movies. He was a rock promoter. So I was with him for a year or two, and then Brad separated from him, and they had a little lawsuit. But then they ended up, I don't know what happened. There were some Miramax or movies that were done through Paramount when Brad ran Paramount. I don't understand the whole thing, or the Weinstein Company. I don't remember. But anyway, obviously what he's done, I have no desire to know people that are of that ilk.
Have you ever been surprised? Yeah, I think you just actually said it, when allegations are made, much less proven, that somebody's done, something. I feel like if you're in the business, like I had heard about Cosby, 20 years from one of his victims who was on the show, told me that he groped her. And I contacted her when it all came out. And I was like, "Do you want me to corroborate the thing you told me 20 years ago?" She was like, "I don't want any part of that." But the point is, you hear things when so it's just, it seems like
I was very naive to it. And I don't want to dwell on this anymore. I think I've already done myself in. I've already ruined myself with the opening of this podcast. I do think that people need to be held accountable for their actions. And what he did, I believe, I'm not a jury, but I am not a fan. because all he said is don't talk dirty on stage, and then did lascivious things. And there's so many people. I mean, there's so many people, but we hear that all the time. And then there's also people that are sex addicts that have done stuff, and they go, I'm sorry, and they put out an apology. I haven't put out an apology because I've done it at the beginning of this podcast. I apologize for 3 stupid ass things that I've done and a bunch of stand up that most of it's, I think, pretty good. But
it's all jokes.
But jokes with people, what you're learning is, and what we've learned is, jokes can hurt, But meanwhile, if I would say those jokes to people that I looked up to, if you listen to Rodney's stuff, or you listen to a lot of people's stuff, and Rodney was a hero. He was a big mentor of mine. When you were talking about my friends, he was someone that I met. He put me on the Young Comedian special, his first one that he hosted for HBO. And Sam Kinison was on right after me. And I had the same amount of time as Sam. And I said, Rodney, you cut me down to like 3.5 minutes, and Sam had 13 minutes. He goes, yeah, but he killed, man. I went, Rodney, I did too. I really killed. I know, man. But I don't know. It was Sam. And so I didn't care because I loved Rodney. I was friends with him. I was with him at the very end when he went into a coma after a attempted brain surgery that I did on him. No, that was done at a hospital, and it didn't work, which is very sad. And then Richard, I knew from hosting the Comedy Store for 8 years, and Richard is a lot of people's hero because he was starting by doing similar Cosby stuff. I saw a clip of Johnny Carson talking to Richard saying, well, some people say that you, I do the worst impressions. Some people say that you took Bill Cosby's material. And then Richard owned it. He was like, yeah, I did. I can't remember what the clip was. I don't do it right. But Richard's key was, he'd go on Barbara Walters and lie. And then she'd show him a clip and say, you said this and you lied. He goes, yeah, I guess I did. But I'm not lying now. But Richard was an anomaly and a maverick and a hero of mine. And he was so kind to me. And that's in my book, too. There's a lot of, the thing that people are giving me shit for from that one thing in the book, the rest of it is about how my sisters died, how my ex-wife, who was my wife then, almost died during the birth of my baby, my firstborn. And that's where the Aristocrats joke came from. I did it because Paul Provenza was at the hospital. No, it was at my home when my kid's mom came home, and she almost died during the birth. And so I wrote that chapter and had to send it to my oldest daughter and my ex-wife to make sure that I did everything right. And they were going, and it was painful for us. It was not how it happened. That's what the book's about, how comedy gets you through death. And of course, these 12-year-olds don't read the book. I don't think they can read. They only have to go, oh, I saw in that comment that he's guilty. And then that's just and because I laugh, then I'll laugh after saying that. They'll say, oh, it's that maniacal laugh. They're just completely off and ignorant, and I want to help them. Because I am. Somebody said you're America's dad, and they say it to me a lot, and I don't mind that title if they don't mind that I've done R-rated humor through the years, because I started at 17 years old doing stand-up, and then didn't get on Full House as an actor till 30 years old. So. Well,
I did want to ask you.
I'm sorry, we're out of time.
About being a dad. You have 3 daughters. We've talked about this in the past. I always love to ask other dads for advice. My daughters are almost 14 and 16, and there's all kinds of challenges for adolescent girls. What advice? How do you keep that? How have you maintained such a great relationship with your daughters through that time? Did you have a time where they were like, get out of my face, don't even talk to me, and then they come back to you? I hear that.
Absolutely. That's called growing up. But there was so much love, and their mom and I got divorced years ago. So they were young. They were 4, 7, and 9. Very, very painful. Divorce to me was even harder than death. I lost 2 sisters, scleroderma, and the other was schizophrenic and died of a brain aneurysm. We've had a rough life, our family. So that's why I turned to, inappropriate humor, because that's like everything else was like, I equate it to a soldier out on a battlefield and sees death and then somehow is able to make a joke about it. That's the only thing that can pull you out of having a complete PTSD mental breakdown the rest of your life. I had somebody die like every year. and faced a lot of stuff, and still am with people I love and care about. That's why I also, my advice is, yes, when your kids are 16, when my middle daughter was 16, she was going through a phase, and I talked about her in an HBO special once, and I got in trouble, and I apologized. And I just said something like I won't even do the joke. Why repeat it again? But she was right. And I apologized. And I've always had a really open relationship with them. I'm incredibly close with my daughters. They're my life. And I have an amazing wife, and they love her. So, I would say when they're young, before 12, you drive them everywhere and you just love them, no matter what they do.
Yeah.
You got to give them guardrails. You got to discipline them. Like for your daughter to say, didn't he do something? I would punish her because it involves me. If she thinks something negative of me, I would say, ground her for like 6 months. Don't let her. Well, that's quarantine. That's just normal.
No, I did. I actually did. I took her phone from her and I said, you need to learn how to find out where the truth lies. And that's why I've asked her to join. No.
You have to wheel her in like a South Park episode. But then after 16, at 12, they got to have a phone. So then you got to make sure they never turn off their location, find my iPhone or whatever you have on it. You have to know where they are. And if they turn it off, you take the phone away and they can't leave the house because nothing good happens after midnight is a true thing.
Well, my daughter has a burner phone connected to a drone, so it's very
That's
hard
fine. Well, you could always have the drone actually physically pick her up because one day they're going to have those. They're going to have claws on them and pick them up like when you're at the bowling alley and you want to get the stuffed animal out of the thing. But the key is just to love them and be honest with them. And I've had to be very honest with my kids, very honest. And I haven't lied to my kids. And that's really hard because, a single guy at 42 years old and their mom and I, split up, and it's really hard. Divorce is really hard on kids. So it requires more communication and more love. And you're not divorced, right?
No, I won't let her leave me. She's tried.
When is that scheduled, though?
Like every other month.
Was she part of the negotiations with Sirius?
That wouldn't have gone well. She once told a comedy club owner that I was auditioning for to go fuck himself. So I don't want her involved in my negotiations. She didn't have that kind of ability to suffer fools that we in entertainment have to, Before
we should record this again tomorrow so I can take back all the things that are going to get picked up. This is going to help you because you're going to get clips from this. I'm so scared to post this.
I know I got to let you go. If you want me to take something out, I will.
Your penis. No, but the thing is, I'm telling you, I don't want to see those COVID pants.
Just wearing my shorts.
What was that? Your shorts were folded up.
No, I have like a.
Why are they folded up? Do you keep packs of cigarettes in them? Pete, below frame, please. Pete.
I have shorts with tights under them. Anyway, I do a lot of lower body strength training.
Me too. I do it a lot when I'm on the toilet.
Can you do me a favor?
No.
Can you endorse me for town council?
Yeah. Do you need that? Well, wait a minute. You running town council? You don't even wear pants.
I'll take that as part of the endorsement. Where
are you really running for town council?
Yeah, the local Democrats had recruited me, and it's where Levity Live is. You performed there many times.
Yeah, Nyack, right?
Yeah.
I did that because I was there, and I can't stop doing stand-up. I haven't had this happen to me since 1995, and maybe that's because I feel more need to do it, and people need entertainment more, and it's very healthy for me,
when you were there, I was out of town, or I would have come down. And next time, I hope to see you in person. But
I had a funny thing happen. I wish you would have been there. Michael Che came down one night, and so he went up, and I just love him so much. Yeah, it's insane, great. And how smart he is and funny he is, and he loves pranking. He just thinks it's the best thing in the world. So I said, "Look, I'm gonna I'll go out. I'll open the show, and then I'll bring you out." And I did. We had a lovely opener. Oh, God, what's her name? She's so good. Damn it. I'll remember it, and you can put it in the notes. but I said, we have a special good evening, everybody. And they seemed excited to see me. It was full. It was sold out, but but it wasn't able to be sold out because of the restrictions at the time. So I say, I've got a special guest, and I wasn't going to do this. I couldn't help it. He's one of my favorite people. You know him from his new HBO Max show, and he's from SNL. Here he is, Michael J. And then he comes out. We hug each other. He's like, why? I said, I don't know. I don't know why I did that. I'm so sorry. So I said, when it's over, don't introduce me. I've got a music thing that plays. You don't have to do anything. Of course, after what I did to him, he's finished. He said, that's my time. I just wanted to say something right now. Are you ready for your father growing up? One of the best comedians, one of the OGs, one of the best. And they just kept, Bob Saget. It was literally a DJ move. What I did, awesome. We're in the house. All the cardinal sins of don't build me up.
Man, I miss hanging out with comedians.
Yeah, that's the other thing I've been enjoying a bit. But I don't love doing lineups. I like doing an hour and a half on the road because I got to work this special. Yeah. So I got to find it. And that's what I'm doing. And I'm in Indianapolis at Helium this Friday, Saturday. And then I'm on the road everywhere. I'm just going everywhere.
I'm on your website. And after I press stop, I'll read every place you're going to be and include it. BobSaget.com.
Yeah, it's Saget with an S. It's so weird when you're on social media, and it only happens to me on TikTok when I post something. I sang like a song that I responded to. I liked it. It was Cardi B and Lizzie have this new song out, and I liked it. And I just did the beginning, 20 seconds, right? And I'm smoking a cigar, and oh my God, the outrage, and people are like, I don't know what they're saying. But one of the things that they tend to go to is, I can't remember. There's so many things. I don't remember what the point was.
Well, I know I got to let you go. You said, but
will you cut out that last part that I just said?
Yes.
Where I drifted off. Yeah. So let's just go to this. So you could cut in here. So I'm performing all over the country for probably at least a year and a half. I might go direct a movie. I've got a movie coming out. I don't know when. It's called Blue Iguana. They might change the name to Killing Daniel, so look for one of those two. And then stand up everywhere. And it's bobsaget.com. And the podcast, you're supposed to say this, but I'll say it.
It's one of the best I've heard. And everybody should check it out. Bob Saget is here for you. And
I think it's Bob Saget's here for you. It's with apostrophe S. It's a conjunction. So I have conjunctivitis.
I seriously though, like, you're one of the handful of people whose approval I need. And it's like, I think it's weird if I run for town council, unless certain people I admire, like you say, yeah, you'd be good at that. Even though you've spent your career doing this, you would be good at that.
Do you want to do that?
I do.
Before I endorse you, let me see your platform and everything. So send me all the stuff. I don't want it just to say, everything opposite of the other. Yeah,
that's fine. But just the idea of
what is town council?
I don't know.
Can you be mayor of West Nyack?
5 councilmen on the town, but it's not legitimate.
Oh, I don't mind doing that. You got a good mind. Do you get along with the other people? Are you willing to listen and collaborate?
No.
So as soon as masks and guns get brought up, you're just done?
I'll run out of there like a cartoon dog. No, it's helping.
My publicist is going to hate this podcast. He's going to say you did everything you're not supposed to do.
I'll let him decide. Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate it.
I don't want to say goodbye to you. I miss you.
I miss you a lot. And when you're back here or wherever you are, I'll come to you. I would love to see you and be with you. And whenever I am, I feel better about myself. So I was really excited.
That's really sweet. Do you really mean that?
Always have. The idea that when I first met you, the very first time I interviewed you, I felt like we danced. And I'll never forget that.
No, we did. We were in an Arthur Murray's dance studio.
That's
we were actually taking lessons. No, but the first time we knew each other before, but we met in Aspen, or Vegas, not Aspen. Sorry. Was that Aspen or Vegas?
They're both HBO. That's why they get confused. HBO.
Yeah, it was one or the other. But I have a feeling it might have been Vegas. It was when Jamie Kennedy and I sang Rolling with Saget.
I think maybe. I think it was
because Aspen. I didn't do a set. Aspen, I roasted Rodney.
Oh, I wish I was there for that. I definitely wasn't there for that. But yeah, when we met there, anyway, I've just always felt like I knew you. And
we do know it. Comedians all know each other, and they can tell the character.
Broadway, you were amazing on Broadway. Amazing.
Oh, that was fun. What play did you see me in?
I forget the name of it.
Was it Hand to God?
Yes, so good.
And I was a priest in that one. That would have thrown the kids off. Why is he not Danny Tanner?
Bob Saget.
I miss you, Pete. So thank you. Thanks for cutting anything out that has to do with canceling. Good. You have 6 minutes there.
You're good, buddy. You're fine. Hey,
well, you take care of yourself. I'm going to go call Gilbert now, and you know what that's going to be like.
Yeah. Have fun with that.
It is fun, but he's going to say stuff I need to edit out.
He's the original, one of the original canceled. I feel like
he is the guy that said stuff and then didn't realize he said anything wrong.
And still hasn't.
Well, he does. He does realize he's scared of doing anything to hurt anybody.
Really? That sucks.
He's a sweetheart. He would never hurt anybody. Right. He was just, he found his niche yelling, and he's funny. He's Iago. He's the bird from Aladdin.
All right, bud.
All right. You take care. Tell your daughter that I'm.
I did, Bob. I pulled the car over. I was like, what are you possibly saying? I didn't even look up what she was saying. I was like, you must be mistaken. He is one of the kindest men. He always has been.
But you can't go and say, the problem is you can't go and say, hey, everybody, I'm one of the kindest men. I'm a good dad. You can't do that. And I can't. You can, but they're not listening to you. They need, somebody that they need. All I need is a hit TV series. That's all it takes. That's what's so fucked up. There's some horrible people, but once they get a thing, everybody goes, oh, they're great, until somebody comes up and talks about them. Nobody's going to come out and talk about me. And if they do, I'll just buy them clothes at Bloomingdale's.
I'm still taping.
Oh, no. All right. I miss you. Thanks for using this StreamYard. It's really good quality.
I love you, buddy. Thank you so much.
I love you too. Be well. And I'll sign a thing for you for a city council.
I just want you to tell me that I'm going to be.
Just don't say you're pro anything.
I think you and I probably disagree on nothing politically.
I would probably agree with that. Yeah. I get vaccinated 12 times a day.
In the penis. I
actually have said that on stage. And I should just do a show for 12-year-olds and end it all.
Yeah.
Be well, man.
All right, man. Thank you.
I'll see you
later.
Bye.
Well, there you go. We loved each other. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. He was a great guy and always good to me. I'll never forget going to see him on Broadway as well. Hand of God was the name of the Broadway show he's on, where I met his daughters. I think I talked about that in this first appearance I did on the Canadian News CBC channel. This was earlier this week.
So for more, I want to bring in Pete Dominick in New York. He is a comedian, commentator, and the host of the Stand Up with Pete Dominick podcast. Pete, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the Rundown.
Thanks, Arthur. We're all pretty crushed by this news. He was a giant, and he was a friend of mine.
And that's what I wanted to ask you initially. When you heard that news that he had died, that his body was found in Florida, what was your reaction?
That we lost someone who was probably more impactful in the entertainment industry than almost anyone of his generation. I don't think people realize how much of an impact he had on our industry, and I think even on American and international life, because America's Funniest Home Videos and Full House were all international programs, and Bob was the best of us. There's just no doubt about it. He had more friends than anybody in entertainment, and that was for so many good reasons that I could tell your audience about for hours.
And it's interesting because as those tributes have been pouring in, certainly much of what we've been hearing is that he was a really good person. People genuinely liked Bob Saget for who he was, aside from the comedy that he also did as well. And you called him a moral leader of the comedy community on your podcast. So what qualities did he have that made him that kind of leader?
Well, I think that the way that he carried himself, you just would watch him. There are certain people in your industry and the way that they behave and the way that they do things maybe quietly and subtly, and you find out later. I mean,
Bob Saget, everybody loved him. The older guys like Rodney Dangerfield and Richard Pryor were close personal friends of his, Gary Shandling. And then every other younger comedian, you mentioned John Stamos and his peers, but all of the young girls who grew up from babies almost on that show, Full House. But I think probably the coolest thing about Bob was it didn't matter if you were a celebrity or a legend or his opening act. He treated pretty much everybody the same way. And so I think that's one thing that I have always wanted to emulate by a guy like, Bob Saget, who is just a legend for being such a thoughtful and sensitive person. He did so much good for so many people that I think we're all going to probably hear about now with his loss.
And, we've been looking back at clips of him in that wholesome character role as Danny Tanner, but that was just one of the sort of characters that he played, was that wholesome role. He also dabbled a lot in raunchy stand-up comedy. The Aristocrats, for example, was a different genre of comedy altogether than what was popularized on television. So maybe enlighten us a little bit about what sort of talent it takes to be successful in both of those arenas.
It takes tremendous talent because you get known for one thing and you're trying to be another thing. It's hard for people sometimes to bridge that gap. And when he first started doing that kind of more raunchy stand-up comedy, a lot of people were shocked, but I think they quickly became a fan of that as well. I mean, he also wrote this great book that I brought with me today called Dirty Daddy, About It All, which is a really great read. The Chronicles of a Family Man Turned Filthy Comedian, Arthie. It's a great book, and it really demonstrates kind of how he crossed over from America's dad in this case to a really filthy, raunchy stand-up act at times. But his only goal was to make people laugh. And he acted silly and immature and all kinds of different kind of raunchy humor. But his goal was to make people laugh and to never hurt people. And my last conversation with him on my podcast, he talked about how he was kind of maturing past some of the type of humor that he was making, frankly, because at this point, some people are bothered by it. And more importantly, as he talked about, he's like, I'm a 65-year-old man. I can't be making some of these jokes anymore that he used to get away with. And so he was definitely always adapting, always transforming, and always leading us. And it's just a tremendous loss.
And to that point, we also know that there was a Bob Saget that the public did not see who looked after others. So maybe tell us a little bit about what we may not know.
I think starting with his family, I think it's really important that he probably would want to be remembered as a great dad. He had 3 daughters, but he also took care of his parents, who he talked about all the time. And, they're gone now, but also his sister. He lost his sister when she was 44, and he did a tremendous amount of work, probably more than any other individual, to raise money for the scleroderma Foundation, which is the disease, autoimmune disorder that his sister passed away from. But he also just took care of comedians, like so many younger comedians that he took care of, and his peers. And you'll hear these stories as they come out if people want to tell them. But I don't think that Bob knew how to say no to almost anything. He never said no to me, and I don't know anybody that he said no to. He did all kinds of gigs and all kinds of shows and all kinds of favors, and never, ever, ever asked for anything in return that I know of.
Well, thank you so much, Pete, for this thoughtful conversation.
Thank you for talking about Bob and for having me. I really appreciate it.
That is comedian and commentator Pete Dominick, and he joined us from New York. Thank you.
I like how dignified that sounded. These Canadian anchors don't mess around. That is comedian and commentator Pete Dominick, New York. All right. Thanks to the CBC for having me on to talk about Bob Saget. And also thank you to Susan Hendricks of HLN, which is, of course, is a CNN sister network. I was on the Weekend Edition program on Saturday morning with Susan. I tried to make this interview a little bit different than the one I did with the CBC, mentioning a couple of other things. And, well, here it is.
Family and friends, so many, attended a private funeral service for actor and comedian Bob Saget. Died suddenly almost a week ago at the age of 65. A larger memorial will be held at a later date. One of the legions of people who called Bob his friend is no one other than my friend, podcast host and comedian Pete Dominick. Pete, it's been a while since we've talked, and wow, what a tragedy. And first, I want to say Bob was so much more than what he did for a living, and you could see that by the response of his friends and family.
Yeah. I mean, this week has been just an outpouring of love. You're going to see it continue. I'm glad that you're talking about it here with me because he was one of the most beloved people in the entertainment industry, certainly in the world of comedy. Like, everybody knew Bob at a certain age or a certain generation. And then a new generation was getting to know Bob because Bob not only had the respect of the guys who were older than him, like Rodney Dangerfield and Gary Shandling, he had the respect of guys like me and guys that are younger than me. Everybody loved Bob Saget because he made everybody feel important and put us in his light.
And that's really what matters, doesn't it? I mean, the clock's ticking. We never know when it's our time. And for such a wonderful person, and I think he was married 3 years, of course, his wife devastated, and just people are in shock. I was lucky enough to see Bob Saget doing stand-up in Los Angeles, never met him. What was he like?
Oh, genuine and hilarious and sensitive and thoughtful. You know, he also raised, 3 daughters, and then all of the girls on the Full House set, basically. You know, he was there. They called him their TV dad. But I think what I wanted to tell you this morning is I thought it would be poignant is back in September, Bob's friend, another legend, Norm Macdonald, passed away.
Yes.
And I thought I would read just what Bob said about Norm quickly to you. It's brief because the same applies to my feelings about Bob Saget. And what Bob said about Norm is he said after he'd passed, he said, because I can't accept that he's gone. And that's the shock that we're going through. 65 is how old Bob Saget was. That's a sin. It's a sin for all of us that he's gone. Anyway, to just finish one thought, he told me he loved me, and he told me publicly, and I loved him, and I love him. And I don't know what we do when we lose someone, especially before their time. Susan, Bob told me and a lot of other people that he loved them, and he told me publicly. And for him to put the kind of respect and recognition that he had on himself and his career on me and mine publicly was something that I will always cherish.
Yeah, to be able to say, I love you, and to get it out there. And of course, John Stamos is devastated, looked at him like a brother. Let's listen to the two of you in your exchange.
I did humor that is completely, at this moment in time, not something that should be done. And I do apologize for that. I apologize for the humor that I did years ago, how it rests today, because it doesn't belong.
And willing to admit some mistakes. It did get a little raunchy in saying, look, I was wrong, willing to accept that.
Yeah, he was just such an open-minded guy. During that interview, I pushed back on him. I was like, it was okay at the time. Mm-hmm. You weren't getting pushback at the time, but out of context now at a different time when he's talking about some of the jokes he talked about with kids. And it was always just ironic because he was such a great guy and no one would ever suspect him of doing anything differently. He wrote this great book, Dirty Daddy, The Chronicles of a Family Man Turned Filthy Comedian. So he did all these dirty jokes, Susan, but he always, in his actions, he raised more money for the disease that killed his sister, scleroderma, than anybody. I mean, his actions were, of course, what mattered. And that's what people who know him will hopefully want a role model, to be the change that you want to see. That certainly was Bob Saget.
Yeah, Maya Angelou, her famous quote saying, people remember how you made them feel. Stand Up with Pete is your podcast. It's a pleasure, Pete. Good to see you.
Always great to see you, my friend. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
Okay, there you go, and I hope you appreciated that. Thanks for listening, and check out the YouTube channel to watch the video. That's youtube.com/standupwithpete. While you're there, subscribe as well. Thanks for supporting the podcast. This weekend special can't be brought to you without a paid subscription. Thank you to all of those who do and are signed up for a paid subscription. So great to see so many of you at the Hangout on Thursday night. Really had a lot of fun and love you. So if you're not signed up, please sign up now, standupwithpete.com, and join us. Okay, that's it. Bye-bye.